Christmas in July. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. I am film critic Rachel Wagner, and I'm really excited for a holiday-themed episode coming your way where we are talking about some of our favorite Hallmark Christmas movies. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and I have two special guests. I have Hannah and Katie from the One Kiss Means Forever podcast, and I love having fellow podcasters on our show. And thank you so much, ladies, for coming on. It's your first time here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
thank you so
love
much.
For you both to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your show and how you got started reviewing and talking about Hallmark movies and other rom-coms. Why don't you start, Hannah, introduce yourself.
Sure. So I'm Hannah, and this is I feel like our podcast is a labor of love. Katie and I have known each other for years, and it was a slow growth to figuring out that we both loved Hallmark and the romance medium, I guess is a good way to put it. And figuring out like, hey, we could do this, and this is something we actually want to do and can do together. And it's been super fun, and I feel like it's kept us as close as it can in these odd times where we can't see each other anymore.
Right.
I know, it's such a blessing.
Having this focus has been really nice. But when Hannah and I did figure out that we were Hallmarkies, as you would, or just into romance in general, I had moved in with my boyfriend, now fiance. We just got engaged right before quarantine.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But ultimately what it meant was I inherited like TV. So we now had Hallmark Channel. So we didn't have to like figure out how to watch all these movies. So it turned into Hannah comes over to my house to watch them, into this should be a Twitter account, into why don't we just do a podcast? So it started out with just that. And then we've been just doing it ever since. And it's been a great time.
Yeah, that's amazing. So how did you guys first meet? Were you working together or in school? Or?
No, we met in one of those ways that I still don't believe actually happened.
Yeah, it was a true New York Friends moment.
Yeah, it was a true. Katie was dating a guy who lived in the apartment across the hall that I moved into. And my roommate ran into Katie on the stairs, and they got to talking about my roommate's t-shirt, and it became, hey, you should meet my boyfriend. And then it became, hey, you want to go to Disney World with us?
Oh,
and
my
then
gosh.
it was
actually best friends forever.
Yeah, and that was 12 years ago at this point. So.
Yeah, it has been pretty much that long.
Yeah, that's so cool. Sometimes it's just clandestine. You're just supposed to meet people at certain times, and then they become this important part of your life. That's great. It's almost like it's like a meet cute, but for friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally. Sometimes those are the better ones, you know.
Yeah. So, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So, did you always love Hallmark movies, or are you a more recent convert? What about you, Katie?
Well, so growing up, my mom and I were really into the Sunday night Hallmark Hall of Fames, like once a month, the cheesy Sarah Plainentalls and all those things. And then we were always like the sappy Christmas movies. And when we were watching them, Hallmark Channel, I don't think was quite a thing yet. But once it did become a thing, boy, howdy, did we watch all of the bad Christmas movies that we could. And then when I got to be an adult, there was just this one Christmas where I just realized like that's all I wanted to watch was to watch really sappy, hokey Christmas movies and just like do nothing else. And it turns out my mom was on the same wavelength. And I feel like it's been deep-seated, this whole love of Hallmark, especially at Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, so that's the difference between, I think, shows that are just mocking the Hallmark Christmas movies versus like yours and ours, where we can kind of poke fun and laugh and have a good time, but deep down inside we love these things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I was thinking about that this week when I was like, wow, the only TV I've watched this week is Hallmark Channel or One Tree Hill, and I'm just in that headspace 100%.
And sometimes they overlap, Hannah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I'm very much into the I now get excited when it's a Hallmark Christmas movie with a One Tree Hill cast member.
I just tweeted that like my fiance gets really excited when he walks out and he goes, "Oh, I know that person. They're on One Tree Hill," or it's John Michael Murray, and we're
Yeah, no, it's true. The stars of our teenage years are now they're now often on Hallmark or Lifetime.
Oh yeah, and it's fantastic, and I'm here for it, and I get very happy. Though I will say I did grow up in the middle of nowhere, so we didn't have TV, so this is all like college on. So I was a little late to all the like teen drama party.
Oh yeah.
Hence me watching One Tree Hill now. But
I'm just waiting for them to have Danielle Fishel in a Hallmark movie.
Oh my God. That would like send me. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, they need to have Topanga in a Hallmark movie. Like, why hasn't that not happened? I don't understand.
Because we would all secretly just be mad she wasn't with Corey Matthews at that moment.
Bring them both on. What's he doing?
Well, yeah, I've got to imagine that there's some sort of like she doesn't want to, and that's the only reason. I can't imagine nobody's reached out.
You probably are right there.
Danielle, if you're listening, be on a Hallmark movie. It would be amazing. I would love it. I'd also absolutely, I've said this on the podcast before, but I would love Brooke Elliott to be on a Hallmark movie. That's sort of my dream casting, especially after Sweet Magnolias, because I loved her so much in that. Mm-hmm. But I absolutely adore Drop Dead Diva. It was just a show that I loved, and I just think that would be she would be such a fun, different kind of lead than we typically have.
That would be that. She has good energy, just in general.
Seriously. And she'd just be so cute. She'd be so cute. That's great. Did you have a favorite of last year in all the massive Christmas that we had? Did you?
I think I will have to go with the I'm of course blanking on the name of it right this second, but the Kristen Chenoweth one.
Oh, it's like Christmas song. Our Christmas song,
Christmas Love Story,
Christmas Love Story. That was a love story. Called.
Yeah, last year they were so lame with some of these titles: Christmas Love Story, Summer Romance. Like they had a Winter Love Story. It's like, could you try a little harder? Those are the kind of names that you give to something when you're just like on a first draft. You're like a Winter Love Story.
Yeah, they didn't connect to anything specifically, which is why I can never remember what they are. But in terms of a movie, that was, I think, my favorite one. I mean, partially because I do love Kristen Chenoweth and Scott Wolf, just as actors in general. But I just
that one was good, and it had huge potential to be very cringy, especially as soon as I knew that he was adopted. I was like, oh no, it's
but
then it actually. It wasn't that bad. Like the way that they handled the reveal and everything was actually kind of like subtle. It wasn't super like.
That's the Hallmark Hall of Fame magic. When it's Hall of Fame, it's just slightly a little bit better. The caliber is a bit.
Yeah. And I think there was also, I was so disappointed in the Hanukkah ones.
All of them.
Yeah, the both Lifetime and Hallmark. I was just like, come on, you got to do better, guys.
I liked Double Holiday, but I think the other two weren't the best. Especially, I thought Mistletoe and Menorahs was the Lifetime one was hard to watch.
We were just talking about that one yesterday, actually, where like the brilliant idea is Bible Barbies pretty much at the end of that one. And like, oh, okay.
That's right. That's gonna fly off the shelves.
What a great idea.
It was like they were gonna have like a Moses doll. Like what? It was.
I mean, really all these things of like these Jewish men who have never heard of any of these Christmas traditions, and I'm like, no, I'm sorry, as somebody who has never celebrated Christmas personally, like I know all this stuff too.
The whole conceit that they're like instructing each other on each other's holidays was a huge reach. Like people, if you watch Sesame Street, you as a kid, you saw menorahs and you saw like, you got like, I don't know, like the prayers and the songs and things like that, but I know what a menorah is. Like I know that a latke is. I'm not like, what?
Right. It's just a little bit crazy and like that's where I'm kind of like, let's not pretend that like Jewish people live in a different world and you're somehow coming together. Just have a regular story.
From what I've heard though, and I don't know if you agree, but from what I've heard from some of my Jewish friends is that Hanukkah is not like as an important holiday.
Oh, it's not. The only reason, so I work at a office these days where I am the only Jewish person they've ever really met, considering we live in New York is kind of crazy, but that's where we are. So I explain this a lot. The only reason Hanukkah is a thing is because at some point parents were like, oh shit, Christmas and our kids like it's not a gift holiday until Christmas kind of rolled around. Like, no, it's not about gifts. Nobody cares about Hanukkah, really. That it's the high holidays in September, October, Passover. Those are the ones that matter.
Yeah, and I think that maybe is part of the challenge. In making it an exclusively, and it is countdown to Christmas, and so I think that's part of the challenge. And I liked Double Holiday. I thought, I don't know, maybe it's just I love Ploa so much, and I thought the script was pretty witty. But that was, I think, one of the better versions.
And
it was like, I thought predominantly about Hanukkah more almost even than about Christmas. But I'm not going to say it was perfect. And who am I to say I'm not Jewish, so I can't speak to that. But
that was the thing, is just this whole idea that like a family would come together every night of Hanukkah is laughable to me.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like, it's just like, no. Nobody, like, I don't care how religious you are, you're not doing that. Like, you're not going to go to your parents' house every night for Hanukkah. It's like, no, I'll light the menorah at my own house. It's fine.
But in fairness, I mean, do any of us have Christmases like they have in Hallmark movies? So it is kind of heightened, but that's just the challenge. It's hard. And it'll be interesting to see. I doubt I don't know. Maybe they'll try again. I kind of doubt it because they just have I think they're going to have such fewer movies.
I think
so they won't have that. I think they'll just do Christmas probably, but who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
I would love them to give it a shot, but I'd actually rather they go in the more like culturally, racially diverse over
same
Jewish holidays.
And it seems like from what I've heard about casting of the ones that they're doing that they actually are like, I've heard of a bunch of casting. But we'll see. It's going to be a bit of a bumpy road, but we're here for them, and we're here to, there's going to be some growing pains as they see, especially with no leaders. they're kind of rudderless right now. But we're here for the ride, and it's going to be fun. We're excited.
Speed along.
But did you have a favorite last year, Katie?
I think my favorite ones as a whole, to be perfectly honest, I'm besides what like the disappointment that was Christmas Scavenger Hunt.
You didn't like it?
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry if I burst a bubble, but the Christmas and scavenger hunts are two of my favorite things.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like they were finding the wrong things to be scavenged.
Yeah, the clues were terrible.
Yeah, and so I just didn't really care. Like, it was just kind of like, it was one of those movies where I'm like, when is it gonna start? And then it was like the kiss, and then it ended, and I'm like, okay, fine. But I actually preferred some of the Lifetime movies last year. Like, I really did like Christmas 9 to 5, where it was basically Miracle on 34th Street, but not.
Yeah.
And then I think
that was kind of bonkers.
It was bonkers, but I just kind of liked the leads. They were just so adorably dorky. But I liked, was Twinkle All the Way last year? Twinkle
All the Way. It was one of my favorites.
Yeah, and I just liked that they gave the gay brother a kiss, you know, what's his name, Ryan McPartland's just adorable. So
Yeah, you gotta listen. We interviewed the director, and then Sarah Drew and Ryan McPartlin came on that interview. It was
Oh,
epic.
fun.
And I try not to have the podcast impact my enjoyment of the films, but I think Christmas Scavenger Hunt is maybe one where it did a little bit, because I like that movie for really weird reasons. One of the reasons is I thought that the wrong guy was like super funny in that movie, and um, and I just thought it was hilarious that they just left him at the airport, and he was like, "Didn't you get my message?" Because they were doing their all their hunting and everything, and he was just waiting there for him, and I'm like, "This is like that's like the meanest thing you can do to a person." Just leave them at the airport. And we interviewed him, the guy whose name was Logan on the movie. We interviewed John Welch, and he was so funny. He was great. He had all these stories about the hotel that they shot it in, where there was like, I guess, all these ghost stories in the hotel. And anyway, we had a lot of fun, and we did a whole brainstorming about Christmas Scavenger Hunt 2. And
okay, I'd see it. I would see Scavenger Hunt 2.
And anyway, so it was an interesting one. It's not my favorite of the year by any means, but my my favorite was Christmas Town. Candace Cameron
That
Bure.
was really sweet. I have to say, I definitely cried a bit.
Yeah.
That one.
I just thought it had it all of everything you'd want. It had a real community spirit about it. I loved the adoption message. Obviously, you don't adopt that fast. I get it, but I was fine with that. And I thought that every time she got a letter from her father, that was amazing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just thought it had all of the beats that you want for a Hallmark Christmas movie. It made you feel good. And it was really sweet. And so that one was my favorite. And I did love Twinkle All the Way as well last year. It was so good.
Solid
it had,
choices.
again, everything you could want, I think, in a Christmas movie.
I feel
Sarah
like being
Drew.
Sarah Drew is great. I feel like being from New York, Hannah and I should have loved Christmas at the Plaza the best, but most of the time we were like, no, that's not a thing. But we did end up celebrating our 1 year existence at the Plaza, because we were like, why the heck not? So we went and had some champagne, and it was great.
That's great. Yeah, I was an outlier on Christmas at the Plaza. I didn't really care for it. I liked the Plaza, most of the stuff with the Plaza, but I thought that she was so miscast. She was so wooden, and I don't know why they had her change her accent, and if that was part of the reason why, it just felt so
I completely agree.
Frustrating. It was frustrating. And I also hated Merry Christmas Match. I don't even remember that one.
I don't know.
With with Ashley Newbrow. It was the first movie that they had all season. And I was like, oh no, we're in for, this is going to be rocky. But it was bad. I also really didn't like Christmas Miracle with Tamara Mowry. And it wasn't her fault.
Yeah.
I just thought it was so boring. Just like board meetings the whole time.
And I'm a little bit out of a loss because one of my Christmas presents was Hallmark Movies and Mysteries. So I missed a lot of those. I know Hannah watched them, but we didn't have it as part of our magical package.
They should have given you that early, giving you the present early.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't until we went to Ohio for Christmas and his mom was all like, "Why? Just give her the channel." Like, thanks, Mom.
That's funny.
She's a Hallmarkie too, so I'll get it from both moms.
Oh, hi, Mom. So what we are going to do is we are going to share our top 3 Hallmark movies of all time. This is very exciting. And I struggled. This was very hard when we literally, our first episode of the Hallmarkies podcast, we did, Amber and I did our top 12, but I've seen so many since then that my list I want to redo that sometime. It's one of my goals, but for now, the top 3. And so it was still a pretty tough decision, although my number 1 is still my number 1. So what we'll do is I'll give my number 3, then we'll have Hannah do hers, and then Katie do hers, and then we'll do 2, and then we'll do 1, and it'll be very exciting. So All right. So my number 3 is a movie called Miss Christmas. Is my number 3, and this was the first movie that Amber and I ever gave a five crowns to on the show. I'm not going to tell you that it's a perfect movie, but I think for what it's trying to be, I think it's pretty much is. I mean, I think executes it very, very well. I think Brooke Dorsey is so charming in this movie, and Mark Blucas, he's got a certain like swagger that is so appealing. It's very sexy, and he was so sweet, and you just were rooting for him in this movie. And I think that I also like that her everybody that she works with is so like kind and encouraging, because I hate when you get these sort of ice queens of business that don't care about Christmas. It's like, no, they care about Christmas.
Right.
And
she cared so much.
She did. And Fiona Vroom is in this, and I really like the whole scene when her and Brooke are decorating the tree, and she's just kind of like, are you happy here? What's going on? Like, let's talk. I think it's a really good scene. I also really like when he is talking to his dad and talking about the risks in life, and I think that scene really works. And the ending, and they've got that giant button to turn on the tree, and it's very exciting. And I don't know, it makes you feel good. I think I love this one. I think it's so good. Have either of you, have you seen this, Miss Christmas?
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah. What do you think?
Can't miss a Mark Blucas movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree. I really like Miss Christmas because I think that Brooke Dorsey toes that line between being really about Christmas, but not in a way that's really off-putting and cloying. Mm-hmm. She seems really genuine in her love for it, and you gotta love the big tree. I love a big tree.
Yeah,
and a precocious child. So.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
You gotta love a kid that's like, nope, we're doing it my way. Thanks.
Yeah, it's very, very, very true. So, all right, Hannah, what is your number 3?
All right, it's hard to put them in order, and I feel like these are just it's very tentative, but I think my number 3 is going to be Finding Santa.
Julie Sherman Wolfe,
mm-hmm.
One of our favorite Hallmark writers.
I just love this movie. I'm not even sure exactly what it is about it that I'm just like, yep, everything about it. It just like hits all my like happy places. But just I love that there's so many like tropes that happen in it, but also they do it so well. And there's you got all these people in it, and it's fun.
Yeah, I think it really comes down to the writing on that one. I really do. I mean, things like the zombie novel and like just certain stuff, like she elevates, she takes a scene that really wouldn't be that funny and makes it funny through that kind of writing. And I mean, things like the eggnog making scene is really fun in that one.
Right. They're very sweet, but you kind of get a ton of like love for these characters, and like I really like the relationship that is built between the father and son. At where they're like, I actually do accept you, and I was like, oh, that's so great.
Because the story is kind of silly when you think about
100%.
But
it's a Santa school. Like, how could you take Santa school too seriously? But it's still fun.
Well, and I kind of wished that they had sort of leaned into the Santa a little bit more and made him be like the real Santa. That kind of thing. I know they've been moving away from that, but particularly in that movie, I think it would have worked to have made his dad the real Santa.
Sure. It could have worked, though. That doesn't bother me that he's not. Like I'm also fine with him being this guy who's really good at playing Santa.
And training others to be so. Yeah.
I just think it would have been a little bit It would
So
added
my
a
cat
little
wants
bit
to
of
be in the
whimsy to it. But I did enjoy it, definitely. I think Jodie Sweetin is pretty good with comedy.
I
She's
agree.
shown that she can I mean, she can sell those flavored candy canes last year, so
Right.
so she can do that, then she can do anything in the world of Hallmark as far as I'm concerned. And then when people were trying to get her to buy, sell chocolates, make chocolates, it was like horrifying.
Right. It's not what she does.
Right? What are you doing? You have no respect for my candy company that you want me to make chocolates.
I did enjoy that one to some extent. Yeah.
But all right, well, what's your number 3, Katie?
Oh my gosh, to choose. This is okay. So I'm going to say that my number 3 is A Gift to Remember. Yes, starring Peter Porte and Ali Liebert. This is kind of an old reliable for me every year, and I really liked the sequel that they made.
Mm-hmm.
We did an episode on it because it's just really, really sweet. And what I like about it is besides Peter Porte just being like adorable beyond reason, what I really like about it is I think that she is pretty happy beforehand as a person. Like she doesn't seem to be like the Hallmark person where something is missing until she finds a man. Like she's got everything going, and just the fact that he like walks into her life with his puppy dog makes it even more betterer.
Right.
And so I appreciate movies like that, and I just love books. So books make Christmas to me, and so that makes me happy.
And she's named after your favorite book, so.
Oh yeah, her name is Darcy.
Yeah, and Peter Porte, hello, he is so handsome. I mean,
he's. I mean, so Peter Porte and I have a mutual friend, which is like one of the most exciting things that's ever happened to me in my life.
That's pretty much true.
Send through the grapevine. Come on the podcast.
Yeah, we're working on it. He has sent me a personalized video text message, and that was like everything I needed. But I do enjoy watching his movies with this friend just because I feel like I get background information like via text during the watching of those movies, and it's so much fun.
Yeah, they did a good job, especially because he's like in a coma for part of it. It definitely I felt like that year they were doing a bunch of sort of homages to different classic Christmas stories. And in that one, I really felt like you had your While You Were Sleeping kind of storyline going on there. Yeah. And it worked really well. I mean, we've covered some of my favorite Hallmark writers, and I don't think we try to give them lots of love on our podcast because they do such an amazing job. But
I love it.
But mine was written by Joa Boken, who's done some amazing ones. Just this year, she did Love in Store, which was so funny. I thought it saved Valentine's for me because
I loved that one.
It was a rough month. And so she's great. And then we have Topher Payne, who did A Gift to Remember, and he's fantastic. And then Julie Sherman Wolfe. So, I mean, some of the best writers, and that's why the movies are good. I mean, because the actors can only do so much. It has to be there in the writing. And so, all right. Well, my number 2 is one that I think is underrated. I never hear it really talked about that much. You see it played, but it's called Fur Crazy. And this one is from 2013, and it stars Sarah Lancaster and Eric Johnson. And the thing I like about this movie is that I think the character motivations are so solid. And I can appreciate a sort of silly movie with sort of silly character motivations like Funny Sansa we talked about. But I think it elevates it to me in this one because they have these workaholics who hate Christmas, and you're just like, why do you hate Christmas? Like, well, you hate joy? Like, what's wrong with you? But in this, it makes sense. If you had parents who owned a Christmas tree lot and were always busy during the holidays and taking taking away time from you and celebrating Christmas to have this Christmas tree lot, of course you're going to resent it. So it made sense. And so her character made sense. And so since she is forced into this position of having to run the Christmas tree lot, like her character growth, I think is a lot better than you see in a lot of these movies. And I do think that the grumpy department store owner is over the top, and that's the fault of this movie. But I can go with it. I'm fine with it. I love Sarah Lancaster. I think she's great.
Oh, for sure.
She's gorgeous.
Yeah. I think my fault with the movie is the owner. Just like he goes from I'm gonna shut you down and take all your trees away to my wife died and she would have hated that I did that.
Yeah.
Like in the span of about
20
seconds.
minutes. Yeah. Yeah, that's
real
fair.
fast.
That's fair. I'm willing to admit that flaw in this one, but I don't know. I really like it. I think it captures the real spirit of Christmas and like how it can make us change and become a better person because we're being positive I think it's hardly a romance at all, which is kind of, you have the Eric Johnson character, but he's really not in the movie very much.
Right. He doesn't show up until like 20, 25 minutes in.
At least the second commercial break. Like it's like after that.
Right. And
you know it's him.
They go on like one date. I mean, she has more time with her cousin who works on the lot.
Who is cute.
Yeah. I forget who that is. But yeah, and I don't know. I just think it's a really heartfelt. She forgives her parents. She becomes a better person, which is what you want in a Christmas movie. And by the end, the community has come together. It's also nice that it's set in a city, which you never see, and so it's one of my favorites, just because I think the character growth is wonderful.
I will say that I really appreciate that when her ex comes back, she doesn't even consider going back to him. She's like, no, you were terrible to me and I'm not gonna take it. And that's like it always bothers me when they're like, maybe, and it's like, no, they were a terrible person, stop it.
The major thing that bugged me about that movie really though is I have a thing about Hallmark women in sensible shoes in the right occasion, and I feel like Sarah Lancaster just gave up the 3-inch stiletto far too late for her health.
That's fair. That's fair.
Carting trees around in heels, it's certainly
most New York women walk in flats and take their shoe and switch into heels when they get to where they're going.
But by the end, you have he's the old, grumpy old man has dealt with the death of his wife and is forgiven, and she's forgiven her parents, and there's love, and there's the cute little Christmas tree farm or Christmas tree lot, I should say. And I wish that more Hallmark movies took the time to really establish their character motivations better than they do. And so that you feel like this is a real person that I could actually imagine happening and existing in the real world. That's I think why it's one that stuck with me that long. And like I said, it's not that much of a romance, but it's enough that you get a little bit.
You get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's the magic of Christmas more than anything. And I'm okay with that. Yeah.
So Hannah, what is your number 2?
So my number 2, going with very silly movies, but I just adore this one, is A Very Merry Mix-Up. And the premise is absolutely insane and would never happen. Yeah. But still, I will watch this movie pretty much anytime it's on because it is just so fun. I think Alicia Witt is just like the cutest in this movie. This is maybe my favorite movie of hers. And just the idea that you would meet somebody and be like, yes, I will go home with you because clearly you're related to the person that I'm dating, even though there's no real evidence that you are.
Right.
And I really want to adopt this family and we're all going to fall in love instantly. And like, these are my people. But then you also get like a car accident and a concussion storyline. And there's like a clockmaker, and there's just so much happening in this movie that but it's all kind of crazy. And you still have this terrible, like, the terrible family, the terrible boyfriend that you have to get rid of. And it's just kind of got everything for me.
Yeah. I really think if you don't like a very, very, very merry mix-up, I kind of wonder if these movies are for you.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, it's so, it's just so bonkers and fun. And I think Alicia, what she does that a lot of the other actresses don't do is that she brings in the funny to the scene. She tries to make it humorous, and I really appreciate that. There's really a screwball element to a very, very merry mix-up, and you just kind of have to go with it and just enjoy the ride. I love particularly the wrong family when she goes over to
just like,
and they're like drinking the green shakes and stuff like that.
Yeah, and they're like mean to each other, and they like clearly all hate each other.
Yeah.
And
although
like,
I did appreciate those parents on some level, though, because they definitely like got the problems that are boiling underneath on a very human level in like a marriage, and especially the dad. Like, some of the things he said and his passive aggression, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel for you so bad, and I really want to give you a hug because I know exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Yeah. It's really good. It's definitely
right.
And the clock is so sweet. I just love.
Yeah. That's it's just
if you want just some if you want some escapism, you want some fun, some laughs, then it's a classic. It's definitely is.
Exactly. And I feel like, sometimes you want those ones where it's like, I'm gonna put like all my disbelief over to the side and just accept the premise and have a good time. And that's what this one does for me, like, completely.
That's why it's been frustrating. The last, I think, 2 or 3 movies, they've been putting Alicia in the dramas on Movies and Mysteries. And it's like, no, put her in the comedies, put her in the rom-coms. I also really like the Christmas List with her.
Yeah, that one's cute.
I think that one's pretty underrated. That I like another one that has good character motivations. Like, you understand, because she finds this old list and it reminds her that she didn't want to become her mother, and yet she has become her mother. And so it's like, okay, I can relate to that. Who can't relate to that?
Right.
And so, yeah. All right, Katie, what's your number 2?
All right. Number 2 is the hair. It's very, very close between number 1 and number 2. But this one is one of my favorites. Christmas Getaway with Bridget Regan and Travis Van Winkle.
Yeah.
Like, if you want a Christmas movie that does everything that a Hallmark Christmas movie is supposed to do, then like this is the one for you. And so Hannah and I do this thing on our podcast called Hallmark Hallmarks. Which basically is just like the stupid tropes that you see across all of these movies. And what I like about Christmas Getaway is she's a travel writer. She's never had a traditional American Christmas because she's always in different countries. And they give you this wonderful device of double booking a cabin with a single father and his child, who has a literal list of all of the the home good old-fashioned American Christmas stuff that you want to do. And so you got trope after trope after trope after trope in this really adorable way. And I really enjoy the love story. The settings are beautiful. Bridget Regan is like the most beautiful woman alive. So how can you not like love looking at her the whole time?
She was pregnant. Like,
really? I
very
didn't know
pregnant.
that.
Yeah. And I think it is one of the most like well done.
Yeah, that's well done.
Hiding the pregnant.
Usually we
belly.
spot that pretty well, and I didn't spot that at all.
Like
Wow.
I think she was like 6 months pregnant, like significantly pregnant. So they did a
That's why
great
she
job.
glowed so much.
Well, she wore one. I did notice, because I start doing every Christmas movie. I do this. I count the coats because most Hallmark heroines travel with like 7 or 8 coats.
There's so many coats.
But I did notice she only had 2, so that might have something to do with well hidden pregnancies.
Right.
is a good coat.
I recently watched this because we had it for our May cheap patron plug. We had it for our May patron watch along.
Fun.
And and the producer and then writer Tracy Andreen, who's another all-star Hallmark writer, came on the patron watch, and we did those. We're doing those once a month. So if people want to have guests like this month, we're having this will have already aired. I mean, this sort of already happened by the time this airs, but we'll have had Julie Sherman Wolf on to watch The Christmas Club, which was a pretty good one from last year. We liked that. And we love Julie, and we love Tracy. And I think this one is really solid. It's a very good little Hallmark movie. I like the near kisses that it has. I like the kind of banter between the two of them. I think is really fun. I like going on all the little activities that they do around the town, checking off the girls list.
She's so cute.
I like
adorable.
Sometimes the kids are a little bit too over the top, but she was just everything you want out of a Hallmark kid.
Yeah, she was, and I liked how she made that little video. Mm-hmm. That was really cute.
Yeah, a little like photo collage video.
Mm-hmm. And in the end, when they have their kiss in the car with the snow and that was great.
I love a good interrupted kiss where they just say whatever and they go for it. And
right.
It's
like, I'm not waiting anymore.
Yeah.
Like the near kisses drive me crazy when it's just like a tiny little sound, and I'm like, okay, that is not going to keep me from kissing Mark Lucas. That is not going to happen. Go for it. Or a cell phone will ring, and I'm like, I hate cell phones. But yeah, no, that one is a lot of fun. I can see why that's on your list. It was one of my favorites from that year, for sure. All right. Well, my favorite, it's been my favorite for forever, is 2011's Trading Christmas. I guess the technical title is Debbie McComber's Trading Christmas. And I love this movie for lots of reasons. I actually just rewatched it because we recorded it for this month's On Friendship that we do. And the reason why I like it so much is it not only has one great romance, it has 3 romances within the story. And I think that particularly the 2 main couples are really solid characters. They're well written. You understand each one of their character motivations and why they're doing what they're doing. Mm-hmm. You have Tom Cavanaugh. Is there anyone more charming than Tom Cavanaugh? He's so charming. But you understand he's had this breakup on Christmas Day where he comes home and she's literally undoing the tree right there, his fiance, that would traumatize anyone. Right. And so he is so bitter, and he writes her into this novel as this villain, and Gabrielle Miller's character is like, you've made her so unlikable, it makes him look like an idiot. Yeah. And so the fact that, and she's bitter herself because her husband left her, and at the beginning of the movie, she gets the Christmas card with her ex's pregnant wife. So she's like bitter against men. She's upset, frustrated. She's come to visit her friend. It didn't work out. And so now she's just become like his little editor. And I love all the little things of like him getting irritated with the children. He's like, I'm going to get the gun, stuff ridiculous. And there's so many cute moments of when there's just banter back and forth because they're kind of the we don't like each other at first type couple, the enemies to lover couple. And then you have Faith Ford and Gil Bellows, and Gil Bellows is so charming, swoon worthy in this movie.
He's very sweet.
Yeah, and he has just been kind of on this business track. He is been all these places, but he's never really enjoyed it. And here he meets this woman, and she has just been kind of lost in her grief. She hasn't moved on she hasn't allowed herself to kind of grow. And that's so relatable. Who can't relate to all of those things, that times in your life when you get lost in your career or lost in different things and you forget to kind of enjoy things like Christmas and find love, and their chemistry I think is huge between Faith Ford and Gil Bellows. I think it is so powerful.
Yeah. Well, because they also start their relationship, like their romantic relationship, relatively quickly within the movie.
Yes, and they're the opposite of the enemies to lovers. They just immediately feel comfortable with each other.
Yeah.
And they just have that connection, and he's such a good listener to her, and he doesn't judge her for the fact that, you know, the very first date she talks about, this movie's really fresh in my mind because I literally just watched it. But the very first date, she talks about her husband quite a bit, and that could be a big turnoff for a lot of people, but he sees it as a really warm, lovely thing. And so I love their dialogue together. And I even love the Andrew Francis and her daughter plot line, because he's actually like listening to her and looking at her and realizes that she's not happy. So he's like, okay, we're leaving. And that
touched a chord with me because I'm from Phoenix. And so it's hard to have Christmas in Phoenix.
I know. I mean, what was he thinking? Having Christmas in hot weather in a Hallmark movie?
I will have to say it does get cold in Phoenix. It's at least 50, which is cold.
But she said she wanted something completely different, and you gotta say Phoenix is very different than, I think it's Seattle or outside.
Yeah, it's like 150 miles out of Seattle.
In Boston.
I forget. Washington State.
School is in Boston.
You're right.
Home is in Washington State. And then, you know, it's like, okay, she wanted something completely different. That is completely different. So he was listening. And then she didn't actually want it. And but she didn't even know that. So.
Right. And I think that's what makes it good. And he's actually like, they're actually the most stable of kind of, well, the other relationships are new, but so they're like this sort of stable relationship. And anyway, I just love it. I mean, I've told this a million times, but a lot of people compare it to The Holiday, but I actually like it better because I don't really like Cameron Diaz, and I don't really like that plotline very much. I love both of these couples, and I just think the dialogue's really well written. I think it's funny when it needs to be funny. I think it's sweet when it needs to be sweet. I think it has tender moments. It could maybe have a tiny bit more Christmas. Like this movie could kind of be done at any time. They could be switching houses. It's not the most Christmassy. It's not the most Christmassy movie compared to like Very Merry Mix-Up or Finding Santa or something like that. But it's enough. It's enough for me to give it a pass. And you know, it's 2011. There's also a lot of physical affection in this movie, which I'm a fan of, and I wish we got more of.
Why don't we?
I don't know. We're adults. We can handle some kisses. Like, give me a break.
Right. It's really okay. Well,
still G-rated.
I have to say, like, probably because it's so much older, I had never seen it until you had said, like, oh, I think I'm going to talk about this one. Oh, yeah. And so I went and watched it, and I'm so happy to have seen it.
Same. You've created a couple converts here for sure for that film.
Yeah, I mean, there is a part of me that will never see Tom Cavanaugh and not think about how much he likes snacks, because he used to have a podcast about how much he likes snacks
with Michael Ian Black.
Yeah, he and Michael Ian Black, they used to have a podcast called Mike and Tom Eat Snacks.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people, he's on The Flash, and so a lot of people think of, I guess he's a villain on, I don't watch The Flash.
He goes back and forth on there. I've stopped watching at this point, but
I mean, I know it didn't last very long, but Ed was sort of in my like television sweet spot of like being like the perfect show for the time. So good.
I know, and they can't release it on streaming or DVD, I guess, because there's like some kind of fight with music on the show. It's the same way with Murphy Brown, because they used to have different music in Murphy Brown, and it just makes like a copywriting nightmare, I guess, is what I've heard.
Yeah, there are those shows where they've switched out the music sometimes because of the copyright issue.
I watched all of Dawson's Creek with the wrong theme song. Like everybody was all about the Dawson's Creek theme song. I didn't watch it growing up because I'm a weirdo, and so I finally watched it like a few years ago, and I'm like, what's with this theme song? It sucks, man. They're like, no, it's this. I don't know. I'm like, no, that's not what I saw. What are you talking about? Anyway.
So my favorite Hallmark Christmas movies are the ones where I feel like I understand the character motivations. Mm-hmm. That to me takes it to sort of another level beyond the the basic fun ones, which I enjoy as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and the fact that they get 3 love stories in,
Yeah.
and it doesn't feel like it's hurried. There's no bonkers banana-ish like things. Like sometimes I think that like more recent Hallmark movies put antics and crazy things that happen in place of true motivation and character development. So I think you're absolutely right there.
Yeah. All right. Very good. Woohoo, converts. And look forward to next week. Will be our On Friendship. Me and Elisa, we break it all down. We spend an hour and 15 minutes talking about this movie. And it is really fun. So Hannah, what is your
my top
one?
it was hard to pick, but my top one, at least right now, and I feel like I need to be like, as of July 2020, is Road to Christmas, which was a 2018 movie with Jesse Schramm and Chad Michael Murray. The first time I saw this movie, I was like, oh, I love this movie. This movie is great. Just everything about it is fantastic. Yeah. I love that the adoption storyline of Chad Michael Murray and his two brothers are adopted, and they're adopted out of age order, which also I love because that means they were adopted older. Which I think is just something that we should all just keep in mind. Yeah. And their familial relationship and how close they are as brothers, but also their like issues that they have with each other and getting over those. I also think one of the brothers is gay, though they don't actually say it.
They don't go there, but it's definitely implied.
It's implied.
It's definitely.
I like that.
Yeah. Someday they'll go there. They're so close.
They're so close.
Yes.
But so I love that. I love that they are the three wise men. I just think that's smart. I just really enjoy it. And I like that they have this professional relationship, and they're essentially forced to work together and really do learn to respect each other and understand each other's ideas and trust each other. Like there's true trust by the end of that movie, and I just love it. Yeah,
they don't understand how to do a white elephant gift exchange in that movie, but other than that, I really enjoyed it. Also, the fact that she makes her employees work on Christmas is like...
Yeah, I kept thinking, I do think that you can do a live Christmas show and just tape it in advance.
I know.
That is not live.
But you could still do it.
But that was actually my favorite Hallmark Christmas movie of 2018 also. So I'm totally with you. Zach Hugg did a great job with that script. And you know what's interesting is that both the Gift to Remember and I mean both Joa Boken and Zach Hugg were both brand new Hallmark writers for Miss Christmas and for Road to Christmas. And I think you can really kind of feel that sort of new ideas and we're going to push it a little bit. And I loved I loved the zombie apocalypse line when the lady's like, go home, bunker down, like whatever. That's like, be prepared. That was funny to me. And I love Jessie. She's so good.
She really is.
And I really, Cardi is so great too. And I love the dynamic between the different brothers. I love the fact that their relationship was untidy and that, and it kind of stayed, there was that, it made the finale so much more meaningful because you saw how things were along the way.
Well, I just love that it really, they felt like a family in a way that, like often in Hallmark movies,
authentic family.
I think, like you all like each other too much. Like you want to spend way more time with your family than I feel like is normal. Like most people, hopefully you love your family and also are like, but they also kind of drive me crazy.
Yeah.
And I kind of don't like them sometimes.
It has that untidiness. Like sometimes in Hallmark movies, I'm like, why are you lying to these perfectly like lovely people? That was like that in the Holiday Date, the other Hallmark. Like, why are you lying to these people? These people are perfectly lovely, and as soon as they find out, they're like, "Yay, more holidays to celebrate!"
Yay, Monica. That one disappointed me because I've been waiting for that. I forget her name. Maybe Rachel, but
Brittany Bristow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, she was like in best friend land forever. And every time she was best friend, like Hannah and I were both like, she's so great. And then she gets her leading thing. And it was so sad. I hope they give her another one soon.
I didn't hate it, but like I was expecting when the actual boyfriend shows up for it to be like hilarious. And be super funny and like, what, you're pretending to be me and I'm pretending, you know, like I'm me. What are you talking? Like, I thought it would be really, really funny, but it was just kind of like, okay,
it wasn't
even funny. I was so disappointed.
Yeah,
I did love though that when she's like trying to block the dad from seeing the screen to see the TV, and she's like.
I don't
know, that made me laugh. There were some funny parts I thought about it.
I love Road to Christmas so much. I'm happy that Hannah picked that one.
It's really good.
It's just so sweet.
Yeah. And I love that the one Chad Michael Murray sending Cardi Wong groceries.
Yeah, that's like
about him.
And I just love that there's that like she's like, so what do you do with the groceries if you don't need them? And he's like, well, I eat them. Like, of course I do.
And even though she makes them work on Christmas, I think Ms. Wise Terrell is ultimately a really sweet boss, and I think she's really endearing, and she's a show I'd want to watch.
And I also like at the end, Jessie sings "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas," which was one of my favorites, and
it is.
And she doesn't
my favorite
sing
Christmas song.
Yeah.
For sure.
And she doesn't sing it all like ooh, 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 ooh. She just sings like a normal human, like
right. Thank you. I am so sick of like these women being like, I'm a normal character, and now I'm gonna sing for you. Just have it be just like, no, I don't want that. It's embarrassing to me, actually.
I know. And you're just like, stop trying to get a record deal. You're in a Hallmark movie. Just be normal.
Sing the song at the end off screen, you know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Like the people who actually can sing like Jessie or like Leanne Rimes or whatever, they know, and so they actually like sing like normal humans.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the wannabes, and the wannabes always pick "Oh Holy Night." It's a rant that I have on this channel. I'm like, don't sing that song. It's a beautiful song, but it's really hard.
I can envision exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. There's one specific movie that I've got on my mind.
Many.
I know which movie you're thinking of, Katie.
I know you do.
I'm just like, as soon as I hear those bars, I'm like, oh. All right, we'll finish this off. Katie, what is your favorite Hallmark Christmas movie?
All right, my favorite Hallmark Christmas movie is A Princess for Christmas. Because you have to love how many principalities and royal seats that there are in order to claim with your love, and how many princesses for Christmas are in the whole Christmas movie canon. So this is with Katie McGrath, who's just, again, like one of the most beautiful women ever. And this is another thing that her accent, the fact that she has to be American, bugs me, because she will never not be Irish, no matter how hard she tries.
Right.
So it's tough, but she does her best, being from Irish Buffalo, I guess. But I love Princess for Christmas because you've got Sir Roger Moore as like the stuffy Duke of Castlebury, and that he's trying to make amends with his only grandchildren, and that he cut their parents off, the son off after marrying a commoner. Oh my goodness gracious. Marrying a commoner. How dare. Nobody does that. You have to marry an actress who was in Hallmark movies at the very least. Yeah. That's acceptable. But I think that like Ashton is adorable. I mean, it's Sam Hewitt, so like,
baby Sam Hewitt. Like
yum. And I did a little research, and it is the same castle as the Netflix princess one.
The Christmas
exact
Prince.
Same setting. Yes, thank you. They're all in my head. It's just like pick a word and put them together and you got a title. But what I really, really love about this is it's the fairy tale. Like I do really love the fairy tale Christmases where you're in a foreign place and everything is beautiful and everything is fancy. And even though her dress at the end is probably my least favorite dress in the history of like big moment dresses, I still love a Christmas ball and them falling in love like for real, like for realsies. And I like it. I love it so much.
Yeah. Yeah, this one's a really fun one. I mean, my favorite of the Christmas royal movies is A Crown for Christmas with Danica McKellar, but I still really enjoyed this one. And you're right, Roger Moore is really fun in it, and it's kind of the stuffy patriarch of the family.
You know, I like the addition of having those kids running around the whole time in this one, where like, you know, like they have the like upstairs downstairs vibe thing happening,
and the downstairs people, the staff is just the best staff ever, and they really make the movie, I think. There's the little maid who like they lose the head of the doll, and like she like has a breakdown along with the child about the fact that the doll head is gone. I attached it. It's just classic.
Well, very good. We did it.
Yeah.
We did it. Top 3.
It's Christmas.
So let's go over our list real quick. So for me, it was Miss Christmas at 3, and then Fur Crazy at 2, and Trading Christmas at 1. And so you, Hannah?
So I had Finding Santa at 3, and A Very Merry Mix-Up at 2, and Road to Christmas at 1. And
great.
We actually are going to have an episode coming out shortly about Finding Santa for Christmas in July. So that's
very cool.
We have a long talk about it.
Oh, good. Katie, what about you?
So in my spot, Gift to Remember at 3, Christmas Getaway is a close second to Princess for Christmas at 1.
Yeah. Great. So we want to hear from all of you listening. What are your top 3? I know it's hard to decide, but let us know in the comments section or on Twitter. We'd love to hear your list. That would be really fun. And so, Hannah, why don't you tell us where people can listen to your podcast and
so sure. So our podcast is One Kiss Means Forever, and we're available on all the podcasting platforms that you might be using, Stitcher, Apple, Spotify, any of those. And we have a Twitter account and an Instagram account, and they are One Kiss Means Forever, but 1 and 4 are numerical for those. So it's One Kiss Means Forever.
Great. And do you have individual accounts or just the...
we do.
You're fine. Okay.
Post via that. Like we'll make comments on via our personal ones sometimes.
Okay. Yeah,
it's mostly we do that.
If you follow us on our Twitter, you'll find that most of the comments are by Katie and Hannah. So if you feel like you're interested in being our friends, you will just have to see us there. And hey, what's up?
Right. But we do try to live tweet all the new films.
And they're a lot of fun on the live tweeting.
Yeah, the live tweeting is super fun, but we share that Twitter account to do it at the same time, which means we end up with a lot of duplicate tweets because we think very similarly.
That's fun.
We'll have all of that in the description section. Make sure y'all are following and listening to their podcast. And you can follow us at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast all over social media and on iTunes and YouTube. And if you're listening on iTunes, please leave us your ratings and reviews. It helps us out a lot. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We really appreciate that. And you can follow me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So please do that. We also have our Patreon group, which we have the monthly watch-alongs. We have lots of other benefits, and it's only $2 a month to join as our base rate. And we give early exclusives. We try to every single Sunday give you an early exclusive. So we try to make it really worth your while. We also have our merch store, which has tons of holiday-inspired merch and all different kinds of Hallmark-inspired merch. So definitely please check that out. We really, really appreciate it. And thank you so much. This was so much fun. And to get to know you both and to get to do this. And so Merry Christmas in July, everyone.